Hi, y'all, and welcome back to my new YouTube video series on Today Did We. So what we're doing here, if you haven't watched some of the other ones, I am exploring 9 questions that will help you transform your homeschooling from homeschool or doing school at home to a true home education experience. Okay. And what I'm doing is my new book is coming out in January of 2026, and it's called A Home Education Handbook, 9 Questions to Ask for Simple and Balanced Home-Based Learning. And what I do in this book is I go through changing your to-do list and your academic standards and state standards and using that as your measurement of success or achievement or learning, and changing it to more of a checklist, questions, 9 questions that you ask yourself either when you're planning your week or at the end of each day to assess how your day was, so that you can see that your kids are learning and they have this beautiful home education experience. Okay. And so we're going through each of these questions. Like I said, I do them in my book, but in our new YouTube video series, I'm spending about 20 minutes going over, sharing some of these questions and some of the activities to help you assess and your homeschooling and create a beautiful home education environment. So in this particular video, if you haven't watched the other ones, I've already explored the questions. Today, did we read? Today, did we write? Today, did we problem solve? Today, did we create? Today, in this one, we're going to be asking the question, today did we explore nature? And you might be thinking, really, is this a big part of our kids' education? It's huge. It's huge. Okay. Before I get into it, though, I wanted to share with you, I am of the Generation X, where, we were told, especially in the summertime, don't come home until the streetlights come on. So as soon as the sun came up, we were kicked out of the house. We were told to go and explore, to go ride our bikes, to go play with our friends, to go be outside, and to come back when the streetlights came on. And we had this freedom all day long to go and do things. And yes, there's memes and jokes about how we drank from the hose. And yes, that is true, we did, but mainly because we didn't have Hydro Flask water bottles. And at least in my case, my mom locked us out. And so we couldn't go inside the house to get a fresh glass of water. So we drank out of the hose, and we were busy having so much fun. We didn't want to stop. So we just drank what we could and off we went. Okay. Now, I understand that in today's day and age, it's a little bit different than when our generation grew up. So am I advocating that you throw your kids outside and lock the door and don't let them in? Kind of depends on your parenting style and where you live. But what I am talking about is we need to stop being these helicopter parents, and that we're constantly overscheduling our kids and feeling like that if they don't have every minute of their day structured and planned and in some sort of structured activity, then they're not learning, or they're not going to get into college, or whatever it is, that the reason why we overschedule them. Okay. And so what I'm saying is that it's real important that we try to get back to as much as we can of this idea of when the streetlights come on, so that we give our kids a lot of time, free, unstructured, outdoor time in nature. This is really the best part of childhood. And we don't want to deprive them of this fun, free Tom Sawyer type of childhood where they can go outside and play with their friends and get dirty and all of those cool things that you get to do when you're outside playing either by yourself or with your friends and siblings, so that they can finish up another math page, right? This really is the best part of their childhood, and they only have a certain amount of this time, okay, that they can be doing these types of free, unstructured type of play, okay? One of my favorite authors and one of my favorite books is Saving Our Child from Nature Deficit Disorder. Okay. And it's written by Richard Louv. And one of my favorite quotes from his book is, children need the freedom to play. Play is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Nature is the best playground. And so we need to make sure that we give our kids time to just play outside and to explore nature. All right. Outdoor play and nature exploration is essential. It is just as essential as water and sunlight and air is to our kids. That's how essential outdoor play and nature exploration is for our kids' mental and physical health. So in my book, I talk about this a lot. But basically, when kids are outdoors, exploring nature in particular, when they're out in nature, I mean, God knew what he was doing when he gave us nature as our playground. It not only helps us with our physical health, right? So it helps build up, our exercise, and it helps us eliminate obesity, right? It also helps us with heart issues and things like that. But it also helps with our mental health. So it reduces stress. It also helps with our cognitive abilities. When we're outside playing and exercising, it helps us when we come back in order to concentrate better. Kids who have ADHD, when they're outside playing in nature, it helps alleviate some of those symptoms as well. There's just so many benefits, both physically and mentally, for our health, that being outside, playing outside, not even exercising out, just being outside, laying underneath a tree and watching the clouds and rubbing our bare feet in the grass, it does something to our hormones. It does something to our mood. It does something physiologically in our bodies. So it really, truly is essential for our kids, just like water and air is. Okay. Another fun quote that I have in my book is that a few skinned knees, some muddy feet, and even a few broken bones can heal the soul and the mind. So what a lot of us do is we're so overprotective. We don't let them climb trees, or we don't let them ride their bikes around the corner or to their friend's house, because we're just afraid, right, that they're going to fall and hurt themselves, break a bone, or maybe we're sort of germaphobes and we don't want them playing in the dirt and all of that stuff because they're going to track it into the house, or they're going to have to take yet another bath today, 2 or 3 baths in one day, or change up their clothes or whatever. We just need to keep in mind that a few skinned knees and some muddy feet and maybe even a broken bone here and there is actually good for the body. It's good for the mind. It's good for the soul. It's necessary. All right. So unstructured play, research also tells us, and again, I talk about this in my book a lot, a home education handbook, is that it not only gives them time to just express themselves, but it builds their problem solving skills. It helps them build up their independence. It helps them learn how to balance between risk taking and freedom, and how to make those choices, those safe choices. It helps build their self-confidence, because they don't always have mom or dad telling them, you have to do it this way, or you can't do that, or that's not safe, or this is what you should be doing. And it also helps build their coordination. And I have a whole chapter in my book on Today Did We Exercise? So that's going to be a whole nother video, just how important it is to actually get moving as well. All right. So unstructured play does all of this for the child, for the teen, and for adults. So, I know for me, when I'm feeling a little antsy, or I'm having trouble concentrating, or I'm getting a little frustrated with the day, or with whatever is happening in our homeschooling, when I go outside and take a walk, or when I just rub my feet in the grass, or I just go and pet the chickens or play with the dog, it just does something to me mentally and physically. It does the same thing for all of us. All right. Now, research also tells us that on average in 2025, kids spent 7 minutes outdoors versus 7 hours on screen time. Okay. Now, I know that homeschooling kids are a little bit different than students who are in traditional school. They may not be on the screens quite as much, but this includes their computer time. So if they're, writing papers on their computers, they're watching a lecture or an online class on their computer, they're researching on their computer. Of course, then they're playing some of their games on their computer. They're scrolling their social media if they're older and that's allowed. There are just so many ways that students and kids and teens can be on a screen, and it's just maybe just watching TV or a documentary, right? But in 2025, all of the kids, research tells us, on average spent 7 hours on screen time versus on average just 7 minutes outdoors. And so we need to make sure that our kids don't have this lifestyle where they're sitting constantly inside. All right. Sunlight is also much better for us and for our kids than artificial indoor lighting. Okay. So when they're outdoors, so many kids and adults also have a vitamin D deficiency, and that's because they're not outdoors, right? So when they are in the sunlight, it's helping with their hormone productions. It's helping with their mood. It's helping with their immunity. Again, it's helping with their cognitive development. It's easier on the eyes. It's relaxing. There are just so many benefits to being outdoors in natural sunlight than being indoors, sitting down, looking at screens, or always in this artificial lighting. Okay. So hopefully all of this is kind of helping to alleviate some of your guilt of just throwing your kids outside, to just let them run and play for hours at a time, even if it is cooped up or not cooped up, but in your fenced in yards. Okay. Moms often feel so guilty because they finish up a lot of their formal schoolwork in so little time. And then their kids have all this free time, and they feel like they must be doing something wrong, or their kids aren't doing enough. And so they keep them inside to do an extra page of math, or to work a little bit more on their reading, or to whatever, when really this is the perfect time to throw them outdoors and let them either roam or climb trees, get dirty, things like that. Okay. Now, if you need more convincing, here are some of my favorite books to read that are full of advice and ideas and activities and research, of course. Okay. So 2 of them are by Richard Louv, L-O-U-V. One of them is The Last Child in the Woods, Saving Our Kids from Nature Deficit Disorder. Love that book. I quote that book a lot in my new book, A Home Education Handbook. And his second book called Vitamin N, which stands for nature. Okay. Awesome books full of research and different activities. Then, of course, we've got Greta Estridge, her original book that she came out with called Adventuring Together. And then her second book, which is actually written for kids. It's 100 different adventures that kids can do. And so that one's actually written for kids. So like you could give this book to your kids and have them pick something from it once a day or once a week for them to go and do outdoors. They're meant to be done independently and with you to help build connections. But definitely read Greta Estridge's first book, Adventuring Together, because that one, it's not just about homeschooling. It's about, and not just adventuring as in going for hikes and camping. It's just adventures that you could be doing outdoors and with your family to help build connections and memories. So those are 2 of my favorite books by Greta Estridge. And then another book that came out, I think 2 years ago, by Jenny Urich, the founder of 1000 Hours Outside, which, by the way, if you're not doing that, that's a great way to help you get your kids and yourself outdoors, is the 1000 Hour Outdoors Challenge. But her book that came out, I think it was 2 years ago, it's called When the Street Lights Come On. And it's a fabulous book, again, full of advice, activities to do, and tons of research as well. So if you're feeling a little guilty, or you're still not quite sure, about having all this free time on your hands, and maybe they should be doing more math or more spelling instead of playing outdoors, read these books. They will help you not feel guilty. Or if you're already there, but you've got critics around you, give them the books and let them devour them. Okay. So today, did we explore nature? Did we get outside? Basically, you just want to get outdoors every day. Whether, I mean, hopefully it's more than 5 minutes, but you want to get the kids outdoors. You want to get outdoors. You want to be consistent, right? So, garden, feed the pets, play in the dirt, play in the hose, climb the trees, go for a walk, walk the dog, go on prayer walks, go to the playground, go to the park. There are just so many things that you ride your bikes, go scootering, anything that gets you and the kids outdoors in nature. Okay. The idea though is just to be consistent. Now, another thing that you could do is you could start incorporating nature studies into your home education. Now, even if you're not a Charlotte Mason kind of a girl or you're not a Charlotte Mason purist, right? You can still do very informal types of nature studies. And this is a great way to get some science done, to be creative, and to get outside and to get some exercise. Okay. Now, the simplest way to do nature studies, it is so simple. You don't need anything fancy. You basically need some sort of notebook, a drawing notebook or nature journaling notebook. You need colored pencils or maybe watercolors if you want to be real adventurous. And you need the great outdoors. That's all you need. And so what we would do is, or what you can do is once a week on Fridays was when we went, we would go out and we would do some sort of quote unquote hike. We would go somewhere that was out in nature, even if it was just in our backyard. Sometimes it was down the street at the park, but sometimes we would go to the arboretum. We would go to the zoo. We would go to a nature center that was by us, or up in the mountains, and we would go for a short little hike or something. Sometimes we had adventure clubs where we did it with friends, right? But basically, we would go someplace out in nature. We would walk around and observe what we were seeing. And then when something struck our fancy, we would sit right there on the dirt, on a rock. We would pull out our drawing notebooks, our colored pencils, and we would draw whatever it was that got our attention. So it might be a bird that we saw. It might be this beautiful tree, and how the leaves, the colors of the leaves that day, or maybe it was tracks that we saw. And so we knew that a bear had been there, but thank goodness he wasn't there anymore. And we would draw the tracks or whatever. Sometimes it was different insects or frogs that we saw if we were by a stream. Just whatever. We would just walk in nature. We would explore nature. We would enjoy the outdoors. And then when something struck our fancy, we would sit and draw it. Now, if, my son didn't want to sit and draw right then and there, he wanted to keep exploring, we would take a picture of whatever it was that he liked or I liked or my daughter liked. And then when we got home, I would pull up those pictures and then we would draw them in our notebook. Okay. That's it. That's all you need to do for nature studies. Simple as can be, right? Now, if you want to take it a little further, once they draw whatever it was in their nature journal, then of course have them caption it. So find out what that tree was, find out what that animal was, date it, put the place that it was seen, right? Or the season that you spotted it in, right? Simple, right there on the page. Date it so that you know when it was that you did this and you saw this. When the kids are a little bit older, if you want, give them a Bible verse that goes with what they drew or the animal they saw that they could copy. Maybe there's a poem that or a haiku or something that goes with the bird that they saw, or with the ocean waves or the seashells that they saw on the beach or whatever that they could copy and put on that page. Or you could give them 2 or 3 sentences about the kelp that they saw, or the type of frog that they noticed, or the tadpoles that they saw that they could copy into underneath their drawing. Or if they're a little bit older, they could do some research on their own, or you could read books together and find out about these different things that you saw and you drew, and then they could write a summary sentence about it on that page. Or if they're even older, they could write a paragraph or a whole research report about it if you want. But basically, you are walking and enjoying nature. You're picking something out that you want to draw, and then You come home and you caption it with what you saw, where you saw it, when you saw it. The rest is icing on the cake. So it really can be that simple, your nature studies. And I give a whole lot more ideas in my book as well. Okay. So remember, I talked about this in all my other videos, and I talk about it in my book, but free time is a good thing. So don't feel guilty if they're finishing up their formal lessons in an hour or 2 or 3 hours, and then they have all this free time on their hands. Don't fill it up with structured activities. Let them go and play, and if possible, play in the sunlight. All right. So at the end of each day, if you're able to say that your child explored nature today, then it was a really good homeschooling day. You did good, mamas. Okay. All right. So if you're interested, I would love for you to check out my new book. It comes out in January of 2026. It's called A Home Education Handbook, 9 Questions to Ask for Simple and Balanced Home-Based Learning. You can pre-order it at my website, coffeewithcarrie.org, through the month of January. Or come February 1st of 2026, if this is when you're watching this video, you can then order it from Amazon. The Kindle is already available. The Audible will be available coming soon. So hopefully you will enjoy. You'll get the book. You'll love the book. You'll want to give it to your friends. And I know that it's going to bless you and help you change your mindset from doing school at home to